Well, folks, another great tournament. The 2015 Tradewise Gibraltar Chess Festival being played in Gibraltar. Unbelievable scenery. Gibraltar is an amazing place, amazing place. World-class players, one of the top-rated opens in the world. Karl Nakamura, Topalov, ex-world champion, Huey Fan, you name it, they're there. Oh, a whole lot of English players, you name it, they're all over the world. And they all come here to Gibraltar once a year for the Gibraltar Chess Festival 2015 from January 26th to February 15th, 2015. Don't miss any of these great games. Here are the standings after 6 rounds in Gibraltar Chess Festival, the Masters section. My compadre, my buddy from the United States, Karl Nakamura with 6 points. David Howell, current British champion, I like David, 5.5. Yang Yu with 5.5. Wagner from Germany with 5. Surprising Adiban also with 5. Huey Fan, women's world champion with 5. Another American, Go USA, Daniel Nardinsky with 5. And you go through the rest of the list. Topalov only has 4.5. I'm a little surprised to see him there tied at 10th place. Peter's Fiddler as well. Now I know Peter got 1 or 2 buys. He's got 4.5 points. Pintala Hari Krishna, great player. And the rest of the list, Yakovenko, and the 3 Americans in the top 20. Alexander Lederman, 20th place. There's the standings after 6 rounds in the Gibraltar Chess Festival 2015. Hi folks, John Cordisco here. Another game from round 7 of the Gibraltar Chess Festival in the Masters section between 2 very well-known players. David Howell is white, British champion. I like David, he's an interesting guy. And my buddy from the United States, world-class player, Karl Nakamura, number 1 in the U.S. rated. Let's get to it. It's going to be a Sicilian. Howell is white, Nakamura is black. Moscow variation, very popular right now. And you know, it's funny, chess openings are like fashion and clothes. They go in, some of the top players will play it, and everyone will play it for a while, and then it'll die off and they'll do something else. It's very much like fashion. It's interesting. Bishop checks. Knight takes. Why not develop a piece for free? They call that a tempo in chess. Castles. The other knight comes out. Rook E1. It's pretty much standard stuff. E6. Now we go through the choices here. Here's where it starts getting a little dicier. H3, D3, Knight C3 is pretty much the 3 choices on the computer. David decides to go C3. Interesting. He's going after the center right away. He wants to play D4, get a hold on that center. Bishop E7, D4. Karl decides to castle, and David develops his other knight. C takes, C takes. If knight had taken instead, Rook C8, as a computer suggestion. After C takes, Queen B6. Okay. Right now, the only bad thing I don't like about white here is this bishop. He's kind of hemmed in. Looks like black's fully developed. At least his minor pieces. He's castled. He's okay, and the score shows that. Small advantage for black. B3 to get his bishop out and guard the pawn when he moves the bishop. D5. Karl goes right after the center right away. What to do, what to do. E5. Now, fianchettoing this bishop now is kind of pointless. It's biting on granite here. As Bobby Fischer used to say, he's biting on granite. Knight E8. He does give some space to white, though. I'll give him that. Knight to F1. Bring the knight around. Knight C7. Knight G3, which is the entire point of going to F1. Rook A to C8. Rook E3. Interesting. Computer likes Bishop B2, believe it or not, which I just thought was really dumb because it's biting on its own pawns. Queen to D3 or Bishop G5. David decides to go Rook to E3. Well, yes, he had a plan. Knight to B5, going after that backward D4 pawn. Karl goes right after it. He guards it with the rook. Rook C6, Bishop G5. Okay. It's a game. Right now it's almost a point advantage for black, which is really surprising when I move 17, but that's okay. Bishop takes, knight takes, h6. The knight goes to h3, which is just a little bit better on the computer. I'm sure this is wrong in both of their preparations. Rook f to c8, doubling up. Knight to f4. Now here's white's problem. That c file. Hikaru's got a really, really major hold on it. I mean, major hold. The rook isn't... This rook is not in the bank rank anymore. So we can't go here to chase off the rooks because his queen's the only other piece on the back rank. So now he's just going to have to grovel for a while. I mean, that's a commanding post on that c file. a4, ticking the knight. Knight goes right to c3. Good spot for that knight. It's almost a point advantage now for black. What to do, what to do. The queen likes, the computer likes queen g4, queen d2, queen e1. He decides to go f3 instead. The computer didn't like that. I didn't hate it. It just didn't care for that move. It liked g4 for the queen. Then after queen f3, then queen e7. I like that a little bit better than what happened. Queen f3, now queen of g5. Anyway, h3. That one I don't understand from David. And this is a computer move as well. What's it trying to do? I really don't know. I forgot to mention earlier in the video, we're on round 7, and Nakamura has 6 wins in a row. That's a hell of a tear. And David's doing pretty well as well. I believe he either has 5. I believe he has 5 out of 6 rounds. So David's looking to score here, and Carl's looking to get 7 in a row, which is really unheard of. Knight to f8. Carl decides to bring the knight around. King h2. Knight g6. He's just concerned about his king's safety, and who wouldn't? You're playing a Carl Nakamura. Knight takes. Queen takes. Computer likes rook c1. Now that'd be a little dangerous. Queen e3, rook f1. David decides to go rook e3. The computer didn't hate that move, it just didn't care for it. And then now b5. Carl's going after the queen side here. Takes. Knight takes. Get that knight out of there. It wasn't really doing much anyway. Now it's threatening the backward d-pawn. Knight e2. Rook c2. Rook a5. I'm going a little fast, so this is a fairly long game. Rook to b8, guarding the rook. Now this knight is guarding the pawn, and this rook is guarding the knight, so that's all held together. Rook d3. Rook b2. Queen e3. Rook b6. Rook d2. Queen swings down to b1. Nice. And this is where I think white miscues. And it looks like somewhat of a natural move as well. Knight c3. Computer didn't really care for that as much. After knight takes, queen takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes, queen takes, rook takes. And after all that nonsense, black's up a pawn. Nakamura's up a pawn. This a pawn. Looks like it might run. About a pawn and a quarter advantage for black at this point. Now I want to say at this point, I watched the game live on a live stream, and David is in incredible time trouble. We're on move 36, and the cutoff point for the next time control is on move 40. And David is down to literally a minute. 50 seconds, 40 seconds. Now you get a 30-second increment every time you move. David was basically playing on 30 to 40 seconds a move here. He's in incredible time trouble. King to g3. And Carl's probably got about 25 minutes or so right here. And we're on move 37, so he's at a huge advantage. And he's taking his time. And now, I'll tell you the truth, when I watched it, I mumbled to myself, there you go. Hikaru is very mature, a lot mature than he used to be. He took his time. He's got the time. Doesn't cost him a thing to use it, just to make sure it gets it right. Queen pawn endings are notoriously complicated. Rook b4, h4, g6, king, rook takes, f4, h5, the computer likes f6, rook d2, they're all about the same. Carl went f6. E takes, king f7, he can't save the pawn, so it's not really a sacrifice. Rook takes, king takes, king f3, rook d3 check, we're going to dance around for a while. Rook b3, and this is where David, I think, miscues. We're on move 45. The next time control is 60. Moves. Goes rook to h7. Computer didn't jump much and score for black, but he's up a pawn, and that's about what his score is, up a pawn. h5, rook d7. And then this is where Hikaru miscues. It's not a huge miscue, but it's a miscue nonetheless. He plays rook to b1. Now, I'm using a computer off screen. These kind of rook pawn endings are notorious for computers giving out scores that aren't even close to accurate. It's just some position they don't understand. And even with question marks or double question mark, the computer hasn't given much more of a score to black. Now white kind of makes a miscue. Rook d8. And that goes up a little bit for black, but not much. This is going to be a long haul, folks. So as far as advanced as computers are coming the last few years, there are just some things they just don't understand. And rook and pawn endings is one of the things when it gets complicated. Rook h1, g3 for David Howell, king f5 for Hikaru, f3 for the king, rook f1 check, king e2, rook a1. They're going to dance around for a while here. Check. Rook f6. Just less than a half pawn advantage for black. King takes, rook takes, king takes, rook takes, rook a3. Minute advantage for black. Rook g5, rook e3 check. Howell goes the king to d2. And we're just going to go through some dancing here for a while. You're going to see what happens. It's kind of interesting. King f3. Rook g8, rook, and Hikaru's trying like hell. Rook checks, king c2, rook 8 takes h4, rook takes d5. Now computer has this as dead drawn. And they're on move 62 now, so I know damn well they're both tired as hell. Rook h1. And this is where David, I think, miscues. King b2. It shoots way up in score. Now it shows over a 3-point advantage. The theory goes that this rook can check the heck out of the black king forever. h4, rook d4. These endings are incredibly complicated. King e3, and just like that, it's over as far as winning goes. King g3 was black's choice. Then after checks, king f2, checks, king e3. The computer shows that as winning. Carl just missed it. Now, who could possibly not miss that? You put the king on e3 and shoulder the white king away. Rook h3, rook c3. It's still drawn. King d4, rook g3. This is drawn. There's no way. And check. And that's the end of that. Carl had the game, but it's I'm not going to blame him or any human for that matter, even if it's Carl Nakamura or any other world-class player. That little subtle miscue at the end, these rook pawn endings are so unbelievably difficult. You have to be extremely precise. And just got away from Carl. So, after 7 rounds, Carl's winning streak is stopped. 6.5 out of 7 isn't anything to sneeze at either. Anyway, folks, heartbreaker for Carl. David Howell stole a draw. Good kudos to him as well. And that's another game from round 7 of the Gibraltar Chess Festival, the Masters section. I hope you enjoyed it. Go back a little bit and go through the rook pawn knitting on your computer or just on your board. Set up a board and see if you could solve it yourself. It's tough, tough, tough. Anyway, folks, as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.